Entering the 2025 playoffs, the Indiana Pacers didn't have any expectations over their heads. However, they were still able to defy all the odds, upsetting teams one after the other and making it to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history since the year 2000. It's true that this Pacers team is really good though. Tyrese Halliburton's passing mixed with Pascal Siakam's scoring and Miles Turner's range along with their extremely deep squad was always going to be a championship caliber roster. But with how they've been playing recently, fans of the NBA have taken to theorizing that there's some black magic going on in the background. The Knicks were the favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Pacers somehow came back from the jaws of defeat in Game 1 and take a trip to the finals with barely any issues. Maybe it was sacrificing John Halliburton, maybe they killed the Snow Bunnies, maybe they even castrated Halliburton to make him focus on basketball. Or what if it's coming from the hit gacha game from Kuro Games, Wuthering Waves? The Pacers are being assisted by Wuwa, and this has been happening since the first round of the playoffs. On April 29, 2025, Wuthering Waves released the 5-star Resonator Zani along with a selector rerun for past 5 stars. This was being done in celebration of their first year anniversary. And on the following day, the Pacers were able to close out the series against the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 5 overtime. Coming back from down 8 points with 40 seconds left was the first display of their dark magic, but it gets even larger in the second round against the Cleveland Cavaliers. During this whole period of basketball, Wuthering Waves was in the background undergoing their anniversary celebrations, so it's no wonder that the Pacers were able to take this series in 5 games. On May 5, the day of Game 1, the official YouTube account for Wuthering Waves released 2 story cinematics and 1 story cinematic the day before Game 2, and on both games, Indiana was able to come out on top. The account didn't post anything on the day of Game 3, which is likely why Cleveland was able to take this game. And as for Game 4, the release of the Zani EP Off Work definitely contributed to the Wuwa dark magic being used. And finally, on May 14 was the release of the Midnight Podcast with Zani, which led to a 9-point win by the Pacers and 31 points from Tyrese Halliburton. Every time that something happens with Wuthering Waves, the Indiana Pacers seem to play better as a team. Since in these 4 games, the Pacers averaged 31 assists through the series and forced 22 Cleveland turnovers in Game 2. Along with this, the Pacers were able to shoot 45% from the 3-point line, which would put them head and shoulders above every other team in both the regular season and the playoffs, including themselves. But now let's get to the most important series of this run, the Eastern Conference Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. New York was entering the series as the heavy favorites. Many didn't believe that Indiana could handle the star power of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, but that was before the black magic got crazy. Out the gates in Game 1, New York blew Indiana wide open with a 16-point lead with 6 minutes left in the 4th. But this is when the Indiana Pacers remembered something important. The game took place on May 22, which was the same day as the release of 5-star Resonator and Wuthering Waves Chacona. And once they took the time to discuss the facts, Aaron Nesmith stepped up to the occasion. Nesmith is known as a Wuthering Waves riser, with him performing better on banner release dates. 19 points versus the Clippers on Rochia's release, 21 points on 44% 3-point shooting on Brandt's release, 19 points and 12 rebounds on Zani's release, and most notably, 30 points with 6 back-to-back 3-pointers to bring the Pacers back against the Knicks on May 22. The same day as Chacona's release. And on May 28th, the Pacers took a 3-1 lead against New York after the release of the Against the Tide EP. And in case you're wondering, Aaron Nesmith had the highest plus-minus rating in the entire game with a positive 20 score. With this much black magic at play, I'm not sure that the Knicks even stood a chance against Indiana. Or maybe they could have done something if JB wasn't a fucking idiot! With that said, the New York Knicks have just been knocked out of the playoffs by Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. It was a great series with New York blowing a near 20-point lead in the first game and every subsequent game feeling like they actually meant something. Way better than watching my Timberwolves getting belt to ass from Alex Caruso, what the fuck. But anyways, with the Knicks losing their best chance for a championship in quite a long time, it's highly probable that the city of New York is going to go up in flames for the next few days. I'm currently writing the script for this video as the series is 3-1, but let's be real here. If New York loses, the Statue of Liberty is getting toppled. If New York wins, the Statue of Liberty is getting toppled and then paraded around the garden. Either way, it's going up in flames. In other news, Zenless Zone Zero's version 2.0 update will be releasing on June 6. So before that happens, I want to make one last video on the version 1 characters. That being said, which ZZZ characters could survive New York after the New York Knicks elimination in the Eastern Conference Finals? Let's firstly start by settling the ground rules. Number 1, this hypothetical will only take place in the city of New York and no one is allowed to enter or exit the city. That means means the ZZZ characters will have to survive until midnight when the police control the situation and the riot finally ends. Number 2, only one character will be in the city at a time, meaning that this is basically a one versus an entire city. We will assume that 90% of New York's population is comprised of Knicks fans, meaning there will be roughly 7.5 million people hunting the characters. Number 3, the Zenless characters in question will be stripped of all their clothing and will be wearing full Pacers fan gear. This includes a Tyrese Halliburton jersey, Pacers cap, shorts with Aaron Nesmith's face, and yellow Pumas. They will not be allowed to take any of this clothing off until midnight. Number 4, no one will be allowed to use any form of weaponry. Hands and kicks can be thrown and they can do other stuff like throwing trash bins, but they will not be allowed to use any of their signature weapons. And lastly, this will take place right after the buzzer sounds with the Zenless characters in the middle of the New York crowd, meaning the entirety of Madison Square Garden will see them popping out. With that out of the way, here's the graph I made of every character ranked from dying to surviving. On the left are the first lot of people that would die immediately, which includes people like Corin, Lucy, and Astra Yao, while the right side comprises of people who would either hide the entire time or solo the entire city of New York, like Lighter, Miyabi, and Evelyn. Let's talk about some of the more controversial placements from left to right, starting with Billy Kid. It's true that Billy is pretty fast and durable, but he's honestly kinda carried by his guns. We've seen from the cutscenes that one singular combatant was able to hold onto him and even cause Billy to nearly fall out of a vehicle. If the New Yorkers just focus on grabbing both arms and legs of Billy while also detaining him in the chest area, he won't be able to escape and the Knicks fans are free to bash him in with whatever they find. And you already know that New Yorkers got no chill. They are straight crushing Billy with trash cans and pipes. Next up is Ben, who would honestly have the same issues as Billy. He stands out being a 6'5" bear and would be an instant target the moment anyone notices his Pacers jersey. If 100 men versus 1 gorilla is an argument, then 7 million New Yorkers versus Ben Bigger is also an argument. And in this scenario, I don't think Ben is getting away from the Knicks fans, especially if they could run him over with a car. The moment Ben gets knocked to the floor, the Knicks fans are not gonna let him get up. Vivian being up here might surprise a few people, but that's because I see her as being able to hide from the New Yorkers for quite a while. The only way you can beat New York City is if you hide away from the Knicks fans, because going up against 7 million angry New Yorkers is not a good idea no matter who you are. However, the moment that Vivian gets spotted, it's very likely that she would get jumped and killed by everyone in the city. Now, Zhu Yuan in the middle here might surprise a few people, but hold on, let me explain myself. If New Yorkers see a police officer in Pacers uniform, they are dogpiling immediately. Zhu Yuan could hold back a few of them with sheer physical capabilities and maybe escape 1 or 2 times, but the 7 million New Yorkers are reaching her no matter what. She only escaped in that one scene because of the fissure, so I'm not too sure if she's escaping the whole population of New York City. I also feel like she would try to stop the riot by herself, which obviously won't work because it's New York, so she ends up with a 50-50 chance of survival. And if you're wondering about Xing Yi over here, firstly, she's way smaller and faster, plus her senses are way higher than Zhu Yuan, so she could easily escape the garden and then afterwards hide out and avoid the Knicks fans. And after that, everyone starting from Nekomada would definitely survive. 13 out of the 32 characters here have guaranteed chances of survival, with 19 being either 50-50 or completely dead, which gives Zenless Zone Zero a survival rate of roughly 41%, which is pretty high when you think about the fact that this is 1 versus 7 million. In case you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Akira Kimbo, and I'm currently out on a mission to prove that gacha games are affecting the NBA. You can see this in my past videos where I covered players and even teams playing better because of Hoyoverse games, along with major trade deals correlating to patches in gacha games. The largest video I've made on these topics is Jason Tatum playing better on Genshin banner release dates. But what if I told you that Jason Tatum doesn't just play Genshin Impact, but also Zenless Zone Zero? And I can prove this with one simple fact: his injury in Game 4. JT dropped 42 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in the Game 4 against the New York Knicks, but it ended in a loss mainly due to Tatum sustaining an injury. At first glance, this may just look like him sustaining an Achilles injury and being ruled out for the rest of the postseason, but what if I told you that Tatum purposefully injured himself here in order to dodge playing in the series? Why, you may ask? That's because the day after Game 4, Hugo Vlad from Zenless Zone Zero made his playable debut. Jason Tatum is already a proven riser during Zenless Zone Zero dates, with him putting up 32, 14, and 7 after Evelyn's release, and 33, 8, and 8 after Soldier Zero's release. But it seems that Tatum already got his bag from playing basketball, so he decided to get himself ruled out to play gacha games. We can also safely assume that Jason Tatum's hospital bed and hotel in Cancun comes with a PS5 with Zenless pre-downloaded onto the system. Get well soon, Tatum. Alright, it's finally time to talk about them. Oklahoma is set to be the most dominant dynasty in NBA history. Not only do they have the now MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they also have a 7-footer that can shoot from deep, possibly the most versatile second option in the league, Alex Caruso, and one of the deepest benches in the NBA. Oh, and they also have 7 first-round picks belonging to impoverished teams in the next 3 drafts. Fuck the Clippers. I've already talked about Star Rail being the catalyst for the Thunder's success in the past, but it's been over half a year, so I figure we should revisit the topic given how they just made the finals. We'll mainly be talking about Star Rail's impact on the Thunder's postseason performance, namely against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Before we get started, first of all, fuck Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Secondly, Julius Randle needs to get traded. Thirdly, Naz Reid, how hard is it to dribble a fucking basketball? And fourthly, fuck Alex Caruso. Alright, now let's talk about it. The Western Conference Finals series began on May 21. By itself, this seems normal, but it's actually a setup. Basically, it was all rigged for the Thunder to win, as one day before tip-off was the release of Hyacinth in Honkai Star Rail. This was clearly a morale boost for the team, as stated in a previous video, as the Thunder not only hounded Anthony Edwards on defense, but also forced 17 turnovers per game on the Wolves. On the other hand, Oklahoma was able to average 25 assists per game with only 12 turnovers per game. And by the way, the Timberwolves had 22 assists per game, meaning they had a 1.3 assist to turnover ratio as a team during the series. What the fuck? During the series, the MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to average 31, 5, and 8 per game. And if we search up players that averaged 35 and 5 during a playoff series, there are only 2 other players in history to do this: Michael Jordan and Luka Doncic. So the question is, how did the Thunder lose by 42 points in Game 3? And the answer is that even I don't fucking know. Someone probably lost their 50-50 or something. We'll go with that. Thank you so much for watching episode 1 of Gotcha Hoops. This is more of an experimental type of format with how I make these videos, so feel free to let me know what y'all think. I also have another video scheduled to drop in around a week or so after this is posted, so stay tuned if you're interested in more of these types of shenanigans. But anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time.